Drones target a strategic airport in the northeastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The local government says the drones carrying munitions were neutralized before they could reach their target. No casualties have been reported so far. A nationwide public transport strike hits Germany. It has been called by one of the country's biggest unions. The strike is over disputes regarding pay and working conditions. This affects metro services, buses and trams in all states except Lower Saxony. And the Dalai Lama wins his maiden Grammy for an audio book. Puerto Rican star Bad Bunny also makes history by winning the Album of the Year. It is the first Spanish language album to win the top prize, and Demon Hunter scores the first K-pop Grammy win. "40 hours, deadly gunfights, suicide bombings and a trail of dead bodies. This is the story of Pakistan's most recent war, a war fought in Balochistan, a war against its own people. It all started this Saturday. A string of attacks were reported across Balochistan, in Quetta, in Gwadar, in Mastoom and in Nokshi. Put together, some 48 targets were hit in 14 cities. All of them were linked to Pakistan's military and police. And who was behind it? The BLA, or the Baloch Liberation Army. This is a separatist group operating in Balochistan. Their goal is to break away from Pakistan. Now, the BLA has carried out attacks in the past. Last year, they hijacked an entire train. But this latest attack was unprecedented. It was coordinated, simultaneous and lethal. The BLA deployed multiple gunmen and suicide bombers. Out of them, at least 2 were women. They hit police stations and military sites across cities. Just look at the aftermath.
بلوچ راج وشميات بنت يا قديم قديمي وما يمكن بس بياي رامشي دغراي فاشنا كبت شي وساچا دني ميغو مدين فدين بوغ مرتي امشي وشي روچ اتكا مدين فدين شي فيش دارين كبلوچ ما سوار بيوارس نبوتغا بيوارس نبا
The BLA is calling it Operation Herof, meaning Operation Black Storm. And it was not just a surprise attack. The BLA came to stay. They blocked crucial highways in Balochistan. They took over city centers. At one point, they had a free run in the capital, Quetta. Take a look at this. The BLA claims they killed 84 Pakistani security officials, 84. But the official toll differs. Pakistan says 31 civilians and 17 security personnel were killed. Now, we cannot confirm which figure is accurate, but the pictures do confirm one thing. This was a devastating attack. It left Balochistan's chief minister crying in public.
पूरी कौम आपकी तरफ आ रहा है।
Then came Pakistan's retaliation. A curfew was imposed across the province, the internet was shut down, and then the Pakistan army began hunting. They are claiming to have killed more than 90 BLA militants on Saturday, 9-0. As of now, around 177 have allegedly been killed. We're talking about the Pakistan army here, so take their claims with a pinch of salt. Nonetheless, this is shaping up to be a deadly crackdown. And as always, Pakistan is blaming India. Islamabad calls the BLA Fitna al-Hindustan, basically a rebellion supported by India. Listen to their statement, and I'm quoting. Terrorists of Indian-sponsored Fitna al-Hindustan attempted to disturb peace of Balochistan by conducting multiple terrorist activities. On the behest of their foreign masters, these cowardly acts of terrorism were aimed at disrupting the lives of local populace and the development of Balochistan. Now, just to be clear, there is no evidence linking this attack to India, and yet Pakistan has blamed New Delhi. Yesterday, the Indian government pushed back. Let me quote from their statement. We categorically reject the baseless allegations made by Pakistan. Instead of parroting frivolous claims each time there is a violent incident, it would do better to focus on addressing long-standing demands of its people in the region. That really sums up the problem. Balochistan is Pakistan's largest province. It makes up 44% of the country's land mass. It's also home to valuable resources like gold, copper, and even gas. And yet, Balochistan is the poorest province in Pakistan. Plus, there is bad blood from the past. Balochistan used to be made up of 3 kingdoms. In 1947, Islamabad permitted the largest Baloch kingdom to remain independent. When partition happened, the largest kingdom was told that they could be independent. But months later, in 1948, Pakistan betrayed Balochistan. Pakistani soldiers forced the kingdom to join their country. So there are historical grievances and there are contemporary complaints. It's the perfect recipe for a rebellion. The fact is, Pakistan treats Balochistan like a stepchild. Just consider the CPEC project. That's the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC. It links Western China to Balochistan's Gwadar port. Beijing has pumped billions of dollars into this province, and yet the locals have not seen any benefits. They say that China has cornered all the jobs and all the resources. So what do the people do? Well, they rebel. And do not get us wrong, we are not justifying what the BLA did, especially if they killed civilians in Balochistan. That is not right. But it's important to understand why this is happening. This is not some India-sponsored revolt. This is an internal rebellion. The Baloch people are saying enough is enough. The BLA's commander is appealing to the locals. He wants to expel all Pakistani presence from Balochistan.
Your respected brothers and sisters have gone out to the battlefield today. You come and join us. Show the enemy that this land is not anyone's inheritance. This is our motherland, and we are going to protect our motherland. Now the slavery is over. Now the time to keep your eyes down and bow your neck is over.
So what happens next? Like I said, there is no internet, so it's hard to say what the current situation is. Pakistan says they are combing through different cities. Basically, they are taking out BLA operatives. Meanwhile, the BLA says the operation will continue. It's a dangerous moment for the whole region. Pakistan Supreme Commander Asim Munir is consolidating power, so expect him to crack down hard. He cannot be seen as being soft on the BLA. At the same time, it's a worry for India too. Yes, all of this is happening on Pakistan's western border away from India. Still, New Delhi has to be vigilant. For starters, Pakistan is blaming India for these attacks, and secondly, Pakistan may stir trouble at the border to distract from Balochistan. So India will have to be very careful. It will have to watch this conflict closely. And chances are it won't be resolved soon. Because until now, the BLA was seen as a ragtag threat, a bit unorganized and ineffective. But this latest attack showed sophistication and intense planning. It's a serious threat to Pakistan's integrity. We are 5 days out from the T20 World Cup. Normally, this is the period of build-up. You dissect the teams, you list out the players to watch out for, you predict the top four. It's all about analysis and the punditry. But not this time. This time, the build-up is highly political. Yesterday, Pakistan's cricket board dropped a bombshell. They decided to boycott their match against India. Listen to their statement, and I'm quoting. The Pakistan cricket team shall not take the field in the match scheduled on 15th February 2026 against India. There was speculation that Pakistan may pull out of the tournament altogether. They have decided against that. Instead, they will boycott the India match. I know it raises a lot of questions, and we'll answer them one by one. And we'll start with the most important question. Who gets the points for this match? Well, Pakistan has voluntarily forfeited the match, so Team India will get the 2 points. Secondly, why is Pakistan doing this? This issue began over Bangladesh's participation. Bangladesh had qualified for the T20 World Cup in India, but at the last moment, they refused to travel. They wanted to play their matches in Sri Lanka instead. India and Sri Lanka are co-hosting the tournament. Bangladesh said, we will play in Sri Lanka, not in India. Why? Because of so-called security issues. They said their players won't be safe in India. And that's when the ICC put its foot down. The ICC is the International Cricket Council. It is the body that controls cricket internationally. And they said that there is no credible threat to Bangladeshi players in India. When Dhaka did not budge, the ICC replaced them. They removed Bangladesh and put Scotland instead. So Scotland will be playing the World Cup. It was a near unanimous decision. Only 2 members of the ICC opposed it, Bangladesh and Pakistan. Pakistan opposed the ICC's decision to replace Bangladesh, and there was talk of Pakistan leaving the tournament in solidarity. As it turned out, they've not gone that far, which brings us to the third question. What is the impact of this move? India versus Pakistan is the biggest draw at any cricket event, and the ICC knows this. Since 2012, India and Pakistan have been placed in the same group at every tournament. Do you know why? To guarantee an India-Pakistan clash. At the 2019 World Cup, more than 270 million people watched this encounter on TV. At the 2025 Champions Trophy, 602 million views. Yes, the gap between the two sides has widened considerably, but the hype is still real. Consider last year's Asia Cup. A 10-second advertisement slot was pegged at 12 lakh rupees. That's around 13,000 US dollars for 10 seconds. So simply put, the India-Pakistan clash is a cash cow. Where does that leave the broadcaster? Maybe the ICC will be asked to return some of the media rights money. Maybe the insurance firm will pick up the tab. Maybe Pakistan will be asked to reimburse. Rest assured, this is not over. And that brings us to the final question. What is the ICC doing? Well, look at their response to Pakistan. I'm quoting again. This decision is not in the interest of the global game or the welfare of fans worldwide, including millions in Pakistan. The ICC hopes that the Pakistan Cricket Board will consider the significant and long-term implications for cricket in its own country, as this is likely to impact the global cricket ecosystem. There's a very clear warning here. The ICC is talking about significant and long-term implications. What could that mean? Perhaps sanctions for this political stunt, perhaps exclusion from future events, perhaps fines or penalties. That's up to the ICC and its members to decide. In the meantime, we have just 2 reminders for Pakistan. If you're going to politicize cricket, at least be honest about it. This is not about security or principles. This is about courting Bangladesh. This is about capitalizing on the rift between Dhaka and Delhi. And it's amply clear to the world. Secondly, do you really want to go down this road? Pakistan's economy is sinking in debt. Cricket is one of the last remaining revenue sources, and even there, the ICC plays a key role. Pakistan gets $34 million from the ICC. This money is keeping their domestic cricket alive. If you take that out, Pakistani cricket cannot survive. But will the ICC go that far in punishing Islamabad? There is some talk of an ICC meeting to discuss this boycott, but officially there is no word yet. Either way, this is classic Pakistan. They will burn down their house just to spite India. whether it's on the field or off it. Of course, India is a cricketing heavyweight, Pakistan or not. Indians will tune in and support their team. So the only loser in this whole fiasco is Pakistan themselves.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Your ninth consecutive budget. No other FM has done it consecutively for so many times. I think it has also been a period which has been marked by a lot of turbulence. You've seen it all. You've seen the pandemic, you have seen some shooting wars and now tariff wars. And through it all, you have steered the economy. I think if you look at the bigger picture, a job very well done indeed. You know, it is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, any consequential economy in the world. You know, you've managed to keep fiscal discipline under check. You've also kept inflation well below 2%. So the big picture really looking good. I'll ask my first question, which I always do when I start. You know, if you look at the reactions of the budget, some people have called it a status quoist budget. People have called it a conservative, cautious budget. How do you react to this? You know, people saying no bold reforms this time. Of course, much is there in the fine print, and it is all coming out. The markets have, you know, come back today. So, what was weighing on your mind when you were preparing this budget?
Well, as was observed by you and by domain experts, not just in India, even outside, Indian economy's fundamentals are absolutely strong. It is the global uncertainties, which of course always every government has faced global uncertainties of different order, different level. But now the extent to which global uncertainties are bearing on countries and impacting decision making is of an order that we have never seen before. So certainly we had to keep that uncertainty in mind and plan for what is going to happen this year and what is going to commence in the next 5 years from this year. In that a new finance commission cycle starts, and above all, like the Honorable Prime Minister said, this is going to be the first budget in the second quarter of 21st century, which is up to 2050. Yes. In between, closer to 2050 is 2047, when Vikasit Bharat will have to be achieved. So our direction, our goal are all set. So it was for us to, keeping in mind the global uncertainties, plan for 1, for this year, 2, for the entire finance commission cycle, and 3, leading up to Vikasit Bharat, how do we want to take them? And that is why, slightly differently from every other budget, this time a lot more was said through Part B, right, which actually is unusual, because it's not just the tax proposals taking us towards 2047. It also shows how we want the administration to respond, whether it's tax administration largely, or how the fiscal policy and other things are derived from it. And that is why I think this budget, everyone is welcome to have their view, and I respect that. And I try to understand why a certain perspective has come out. Even if it's criticizing it, I try to understand what is the basis from where they've come. But to have had Indian economy grow at the fastest rate from among major large economies, not just 1 year, not just 2 years, now for steady 4 years, it is the stability point that I want to underline. Prime Minister's political stability, because he's in the third term.
Yes.
and also his understanding of how you respond to business has remained the same always. We have to be receptive, we have to enable, we have to remove we have to extend the red carpet but remove the red tape simultaneously, and ease of doing business. These are consistent policies. Tax certainty, bring stability for businesses, have been the core beliefs. It's almost a code for him. And that is why, remaining in his third term, he has given the message of stability through this budget. Just one last line on this.
Now let's talk about gold and silver. For weeks, both these precious metals have seen a historic rally, but in the past few days, there's been a dramatic turnaround. Prices are falling faster than they have in years, and investors have only one question: should they start buying gold and silver? Tonight, we'll answer the question, and we'll start with the number. Gold was trading at around $4,400 for an ounce. 1 ounce of gold is around 31 grams. It was selling for $4,400 in Asian markets, and silver fell even harder. Silver was down by 15%. Today, it was trading at $72 for an ounce. That was the price of silver. And this came after a brutal trading session on Friday, where gold recorded its sharpest single-day fall since 1983, and silver collapsed by a whopping 27%. What about prices in India? In India too, gold and silver are under pressure. They've fallen by 20%. We're talking about gold and silver ETFs, exchange traded funds, ETFs. These funds allow investors to buy gold and silver in the equity markets, and they have seen a drop of 20%. This turnaround has surprised most investors because, like I said, just a few days ago, both metals were soaring. In fact, in January, prices were breaking records. In 1 month, gold had appreciated by 25%, and silver rose even higher. It went up by more than 50%, 50. But now both metals have crashed. Gold has lost almost all of the gains that it made in the new year, while silver still seems volatile. So what caused the sudden crash? Broadly speaking, it was profit booking. After the stupendous rise, many investors thought that this is their chance to cash in their gains, so they sold, and that is why prices fell. But that's not the only reason. There's also a mindset shift. Until last week, global investors were quite nervous. Two things were troubling them. One, the geopolitical uncertainty, especially from the United States, with President Trump's erratic policies raising concerns. His public face-off with Europe over Greenland, his repeated threats against Iran, all of it had put the world on edge. And as you know, markets do not like surprises, but Trump was full of them. So investors were quite jittery. That was one part. The second concern was the US Central Bank, also called the Fed, the Federal Reserve. On Friday, President Trump nominated Kevin Warsh as the next Fed chair, the chief of the Federal Reserve. He's a former central bank governor, and his appointment has brought some relief because now investors know that there is no sudden shake-up in the bank. So on both these fronts, investor fears have eased. Trump has dialed down on his threats, and he's not trying to unseat the Fed chief before his term ends. The Fed chief is Jerome Powell. He will remain in office until his tenure ends in the month of May. In fact, it was Trump who appointed him during his first term. But he has not been happy with Jerome Powell. Trump wants lower interest rates in the US. Powell has refused to do his bidding. So Trump keeps targeting him, and he keeps threatening to remove him. The fact is, the US president cannot sack the Fed chief. But Trump's threats made investors uneasy. They were worried about the independence of the American Central Bank and its chair. Now it appears that Trump has retreated. He will let Jerome Powell finish his term, so no abrupt moves or policy shocks, and that has calmed investors. And when investors feel reassured, they make new bets. They pull money out of safe haven assets like gold and invest elsewhere. Which brings me to the question everyone is asking. What should you do? With gold and silver prices falling, should you be buying right now? Is this the time to jump in? Honestly, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking to make a quick buck, if you're looking for quick appreciation, then buying right now could be risky because it's a gamble. It's hard to say how the market will behave tomorrow or next week or next year. Prices could rise, but they could fall just as quickly. So if you have savings, and if you need this money soon to, say, pay your bills or to pay your children's tuition or any other expense, or to just keep some extra cash for a contingency, then you should not be buying right now. But if you're looking to invest for the long term, like for your retirement, or if you want to add gold or silver to your existing portfolio of assets, then buying small quantities right now could make sense. But you may want to slowly deploy your cash, stagger your purchases in case there is a bigger fall. Also, don't look at this to make a quick buck. Don't park your entire savings in gold or silver. Diversification makes more sense. As of today, the market is too volatile for big bets. So consider your options carefully before investing. A new face-off is brewing in the financial world. It's about controlling the world's money, and Xi Jinping is at the forefront of this fight. That's the Chinese president. He has set his sights on the world's most powerful currency, the US dollar. Now, we all know the role that the US dollar plays in the global economy. It is the reserve currency of the world. Xi Jinping wants to dethrone it. He wants to replace the US dollar with the Chinese yuan, the Chinese currency, yuan. In fact, Xi is making a case for it himself. China's Communist Party runs an ideological journal. It's called the Qiu Xi. This week, the journal published a speech where President Xi Jinping was addressing top Chinese officials. It's an old speech. He delivered it in 2014, but it's only now that the speech has been made public. And what does he talk about? The president talks about the yuan, the Chinese currency, and how he wants the yuan to become the reserve currency of the world. And for this, Xi Jinping has laid out a roadmap. In fact, let me quote from what he said. The Chinese president, he said, China needs to build a powerful currency, one that would be widely used in international trade, investment and foreign exchange markets, and attain reserve currency status. And how will they do it? Well, President Xi wants to lay broader financial foundations, basically a financial backbone that can support the yuan. What does that mean? It means a powerful central bank and institutions that can attract global capital and exert influence over global pricing. That's what Xi Jinping said. Now, let me break it down for you. Today, most of the global trade is done in US dollars. When central banks save money, they store it in the US dollar, and that is how the dollar dominates global finance. China wants to change that, and to achieve this goal, Xi Jinping has spelled out 4 requirements: a powerful central bank, a solid financial system, banks that can compete with the likes of Wall Street, and stock markets that attract global investors. These are the 4 things that they have to do. This is what the Chinese president told his team in 2024. And now they've made the plan public. But why now? Perhaps because the dollar is under pressure right now. In the last 1 month, the dollar has weakened considerably. Over the past year, the dollar has lost more than 10% in value. Last week, it dropped to a 4-year low. This is against leading global currencies. So this is a good time to make a pitch for an alternative. And China wants to tell the world that the yuan is more stable. It's a better bet. We say it's a good try. But as things stand, it's also a long shot for the yuan. The US dollar still dominates global trade. Central banks the world over hold over 6 trillion in dollar reserves. That is 58% of all reserves, the US dollar. The euro comes second at 20%. It's followed by Japan's yen and Britain's pound. Together, their share is 11%, the yen and the pound. And what about the yuan? Well, as of today, the Chinese yuan share is just about 2%. So for now, the Chinese currency is not a serious challenger at all. Having said that, the dollar cannot rest easy. While it still remains the dominant currency, over the years, the dollar share has shrunk. Look at the numbers again. In 1999, the dollar's share in global reserves stood at 71%. 1999, 71%. By 2021, it had come down to 59%. That's a loss of 12% in 22 years. And this means that central banks are diversifying, but they're not diversifying towards another currency. When they're ditching the dollar, they're buying gold. Look at the numbers from 2024. Central banks added more than 1,000 tons to their gold reserves. This was the third consecutive year of gold buying, the third straight year when central banks bought gold over 1,000 tons. Also, why gold? Because gold is neutral and safe. Gold does not belong to any one country, it does not come with sanctions, and it carries limited risk. This neutrality adds to the value of gold. So Xi Jinping has got the diagnosis right. He's right. Yes, the world is looking for alternatives to the...
That's coming in where we have accessed details of that conversation between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump. Big breaking news that's coming in, ladies and gentlemen, where Trump has announced a landmark trade deal saying that India will halt Russian oil purchases and boost American energy. Tariffs, the reciprocal tariffs have been slashed to 18%. That is the big piece of news that's coming in. A huge development coming in on the trade front between the two sides when it comes to the entire tariff regime. And Donald Trump making that explosive statement. He has said, and I quote, let's read the entire post out. It was an honor to speak with Prime Minister Modi of India this morning. He is one of my greatest friends and a powerful and respected leader of this country. We will help end the war in Ukraine, which is taking place right now with thousands of people dying each week. Prime Minister Modi, as per his request, effective immediately, we agreed to a trade deal between the United States and India, whereby the United States will charge a reduced reciprocal tariff, lowering it from 25 to 18%. He has also said that Prime Minister Modi has agreed to stop buying Russian oil and to buy much more from the United States and potentially Venezuela. I'm joined by my colleague Zaka Jacob on the broadcast. Zaka, a huge statement coming in from Donald Trump. India will stop buying Russian oil, and secondly, at the same time, the reciprocal tariffs coming down from 25 to 18.
Yeah, so I think it's a big announcement. It's just come from President Trump's Truth Social post. So the reciprocal tariffs have been reduced from 25% to 18%. And the Russian oil tariffs, this is Trump's claim. He is saying that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. Therefore, the Russian tariffs, the Russian oil tariffs of 25% are also being knocked off. Again, this is Trump's claim that the Prime Minister has assured him that India will stop buying Russian oil. So the 25% oil tariffs have been removed, and also now the reciprocal tariffs, which was 25% earlier, has now been reduced to 18, which is lower than all the other countries in the region. Pakistan has 19%. Sri Lanka also, I think, has 19 or 20%. So in the South Asia region, if you look at it, I think India would be the lowest. It's somewhere in the ballpark between what EU got at 15%, Japan and South Korea at 15%, and what the other Asian countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, etc. have got at 19 and 20%. So for India, this is a big development, which of course, for a number of months now, India had been negotiating this trade deal. I think there were 6 rounds of talks between the trade representatives of both sides. And then suddenly, when in August we thought that we would get a trade deal with the United States, suddenly the goalpost was shifted, and the second set of tariffs, the Russian oil tariffs, were imposed on India. Now, President Trump saying that the Prime Minister has assured him that India will stop buying Russian oil, and as a mark of respect to the India-US friendship, he says that he is going to effective immediately. India and the United States have agreed to a trade deal whereby the US will charge a reduced reciprocal tariff from 25% to 18%.
Right.
President Trump also goes on to say that this will likely move forward to reduce, that India will likely move forward to reduce both tariff and non-tariff barriers against the United States to zero. He's also gone on to say that the Prime Minister has committed to him, again, this is what President Trump is claiming, that the Prime Minister has committed to him to buy American at a much higher level, in addition to $500 billion of US energy, technology, agriculture, coal, etc. Again, I want to add the caveat again that these are claims made by President Trump. We're awaiting a formal statement from the government of India, from the MEA.
Absolutely, Zaka, because it seems it's a huge list coming in from the United States. It seems, as per Donald Trump, that India has complied on several fronts, not just the fact that as per Donald Trump, saying that Prime Minister Modi has said that they will stop buying Russian oil, the tariff barriers against the United States to zero. That is a massive ask, because India is always about safeguarding its domestic economy.
Oh, absolutely. Again, like I said, this is a big claim that the President of the United States is making. We don't know, on what items India has agreed to zero tariff barriers. What about the removal of non-tariff barriers? Again, we are awaiting an official statement from the government of India, from the MEA. Of course, if there's any change of tariffs or non-tariffs, then it has to go to Parliament. The Parliament has to ratify it. Again, look, I think you have to understand where Donald Trump is coming from. He is someone who has to show to his domestic constituency, to his MAGA base, as it were, that he's got a big win. One of the big countries with whom he still hadn't got a trade deal was India. He had to sort of go back to his base and show that, look, I've got India to cave in. India has agreed to buy, American oil, American energy products, American technology, American agriculture, etc. But the devil is really in the detail. We have not heard anything from the government of India or from the MEA as to what commitments India has made. These are claims made by President Trump. We've seen this, when the Japan deal was announced, when the South Korea deal was announced. He got a lot of these Japanese companies, South Korean companies, to come out and make all kinds of pledges about $100 billion investment. I think from Japan it was $500 billion dollar investment, and so on. But the point is, how much of this will actually materialize? In how much time will it actually materialize, if it does at all? Even in the case of India, if you look at his truth